Hello everyone, welcome back to building my dream zoo in Minecraft. Now I actually just built this, it's just above the creeper farm here, so it's just kind of an AFK spot. It's not perfect, it probably should be a little bit taller than this, but for now it works. But I'm really liking this setup because I can use my storage system here and gather stuff for my next habitat while actually getting gunpowder as well, so it works out pretty well. But also before I get too far ahead of myself, I do want to apologize that it's been so long since I've had another episode. I've just been super busy and just haven't had a ton of extra energy lately, unfortunately. But I'm super happy to be back here. And I actually have a pretty decent plan for a habitat. I haven't designed the whole thing yet, but I have sort of an idea in my head. But I'll show you. We're going to be building something for Komodo dragons. And if you might see, one of these blocks is a little bit odd, this pink concrete powder. I'm not sure if it's going to look good or not, but I'm going to try it out, because apparently on the island of Komodo they have pink sand, and I have to look more into this. I haven't done my research yet, I just saw the pink sand thing and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to try to, include a little bit of. But basically something with, I think it's some minerals or something on the beach. I'll let you guys know later what it is. But yeah, it makes the sand look kind of pink, so I thought maybe that would work. And I found a trick, because obviously concrete powder can't really go next to water. But if you use chisel and bits, then it can, because it won't change. So kind of a loophole. It's really cool that we can do that in modded. And it kind of looks like a sandy texture. But yeah, so I'm still kind of grabbing some stuff here. I don't have a ton of the kibble yet, but I might try to get some more soon. It's mostly salmon that I need more of, and it's just sort of tedious to do fishing. See, I've done some fishing already, got my fishing rod here. But I do have a couple of name suggestions, so I'm going to be doing those right now, so let me just hop over there real quick. Alright, so I have been breeding these rabbits quite a bit, and one of the cool things about the genetics with these kind of animals with the different patterns, you have a small chance of getting a different color. So I do have a couple of black ones here. I'm hoping that we might get a few more later. But Simon suggested that we name one of them Bugs, and so we're going to do that. And I don't know if you care, Simon, but I'm going to name one of the black ones just because they're a little bit more rare right now. Let's see if we can do this without getting a different one. There we go. Bugs the rabbit. Awesome. So thank you so much, Simon. And actually, Simon did suggest the other name as well. Let me try to get out of here, though, and I'll meet you over there for that. Alright, so this suggestion is also from Simon, and it was for the female pygmy hippo right here. And actually, it was a really sweet story from him. His bulldog is named Ruby, which is what we're going to name her. And he said that a nickname for his dog is a pygmy hippo. And so I think that's just so cute. And I bet your bulldog is just adorable. So thank you so much again for that name suggestion. And now Ruby is an awesome member of our zoo here. Alright, so I collected a pretty good amount of stuff here. And this is where I've kind of outlined where I want to put this habitat. I might change some of these. These might not be where I put like posts or anything. And I think I'm just going to use spruce actually for those. I hadn't decided before. But yeah, I think spruce will kind of be good. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to get started building this. So I think we're going to just jump into a time lapse. So with a name like Komodo Dragon, they've got to be pretty cool. But even without that cool name, I really did find a lot of really interesting things about them. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Now, Komodo dragons only live on a few different islands in Indonesia's Lesser Sunda Islands, and so one of them is named Komodo Island, so they kind of have the same name there, but they're also found on 4 other ones as well, and that's actually because the islands are kind of close together, so they can swim between them, although they don't often, but they can. And like I mentioned before, the Komodo Island has a pink beach, and so I want to go back to that. So it's actually caused by a microorganism, and I'm going to see if I can pronounce it. They're called foraminifera, and basically they're an insect that will produce red pigment, which is on coral reefs, but then bits of that coral gets mixed with the sand and causes the pink color because the sand's kind of light. But back to the Komodo dragons themselves, I found some really interesting, just sort of general stuff about them. So in the wild, their average lifespan is about 30 years, and they can be about 10 feet long, although males will typically be closer to 10, but females are closer to 6. And similarly, they can weigh up to 300 pounds or even over that for males, but on average it's more like 150. And I have seen a couple of Komodo dragons, but usually they're just kind of like laying around and, sunbathing, but they can actually run up to 13 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. And they also don't really have very good hearing or eyesight, but that's because they mostly use their sense of smell and they can actually track stuff with their smell pretty easily. And actually, I just realized that the only ones I've ever seen have been pretty greenish, but apparently they can also be tan, black, yellow, gray, or pretty much anything in between. And apparently the color variations are kind of based on location where they live, so that kind of makes sense. Maybe the ones that I've seen, because they're on captivity, have come from similar regions. I'm not sure. And they also have these really cool bony plates. They're called osteroderms, and so basically they reinforce their skin and help prevent them getting injured. And they are actually, I forgot to mention, they're basically the largest lizard species in the entire world. And because of that, their diet consists of just about anything. So they have a strong venom that actually lowers blood pressure, prevents blood clotting, and it also, because of those things, causes their victims to go into shock. And so basically anything that they can bite, they could probably kill. And then, like I said, with their good sense of smell, they can basically follow their prey after they bite them and find them wherever they go. And so because of all of that, obviously, as cool as these guys look, I don't want to get anywhere near one. And of course, I couldn't go without talking about baby Komodo dragons, so we're going to get into that now. So females will lay about 30 eggs at a time, and so they will actually remain buried. She'll make a nest for them, and they actually incubate for about 8 or 9 months. That's pretty crazy to me. And apparently sometimes the mother will actually build decoy nests to try to keep the eggs safe, and she'll lay on the nest for a while to kind of protect the eggs as well. But the mothers don't actually care for the young once they hatch, so they're kind of on their own at that point. And when they hatch, they'll be less than 100 grams in weight, and they'll be about 16 inches long. Like, that is just so tiny. And during this stage of their life, they are pretty vulnerable, unfortunately, just because they're so small and they don't really have a lot of, strength or anything. But something that's really cool is to protect themselves. They basically will just climb up the closest tree as soon as they hatch, and then they will kind of live in the trees for the first year or maybe more of their life. And so I don't know, I couldn't really find a lot of information, whether they like come out of the trees and go back up or if they kind of just stay there. But I guess they just kind of feed on like insects and stuff in the trees for a while. And the reason that it's so safe up there, obviously they would still probably have to worry about like large birds maybe, but one of their main predators is actually larger Komodo dragons. But once the dragons get pretty big, they kind of weigh too much, so they can't get into trees. Now something else that's really cool about these guys is that if there's no males around, the females can actually just sort of reproduce by themselves. However, all of the babies that they have this way will be male. And actually this kind of thing is a big reason why they're considered endangered, because they don't travel very far and so they often can't find a mate. And especially that on top of other issues like habitat loss and just run-ins with humans in general, like being hunted and stuff. It unfortunately means that their numbers have been declining, and even in general they have a really small range. Obviously they only have the 5 islands and that's it. Luckily though, this isn't going to be just a sad story. There are tons of conservation efforts being made for them. And one thing that includes is the Komodo National Park, which is 700 square miles of protected land, and it not only helps the Komodo dragons, but also other threatened species in the area, and one of those is sea turtles. And I know Komodo dragons have been born in zoos, I've heard about it before, but I was trying to find some information about that online, and I couldn't really find too much specifics. What I was really wondering is if it was difficult or not to breed them, and that's what I couldn't really find. However, the stuff that I did see about conservation was more about education and as well like ecotourism into the islands of Komodo and the other islands there. And so basically there's ways that you can see them in their natural environment and just see the area where they live and, be a smart traveler that way. And one really cool thing that I did find out when it comes to zoos is actually the San Diego Zoo. I really love them. They always seem to come through here. But they actually have done a ton of research about Komodo dragons. And so they were really struggling. I think they got a couple of young ones and they wanted to know whether they were males or females, but it's really hard to tell because they look pretty much the same. And so usually what would be done before this, they would use the hormones once they became older, but they wanted to know sooner than that whether they had males or females. And so basically they found a way, and so they were able to tell whether it was a male or female Komodo dragon by 2 years old, when it would usually be like 5 or 6 years old. And one of the reasons this is so important is because it does help conservation and like breeding programs. And so zoos can know like who they're going to loan the Komodo dragons to and like the breeding pairs and stuff, and they can kind of plan ahead that way. But yeah, I really hope that this wasn't too long. That's all the facts I have, but it was a lot longer and a lot more than I usually find. But yeah, we're going to go back. We're going to get these guys in the zoo now. Alright guys, so I actually expected to have more done for this habitat. But actually I had some space issues. I didn't check it before. So I tamed these guys. Thought I recorded it. But did not. So I added a tire swing right there and a lantern for hopefully some light. And I've got 2 Komodo dragons in here. And something that I said when I put them in here, that's the other one. When I put them in here though, they are solitary. But just for like breeding purposes and just sort of, you know, I feel like it's okay to have 2. It's a male and a female. Right, so this darker one here, this is a female one. And let me... Ooh. And I'm trying to get a good angle. You can see their little teeth though from the front. I think that's so cool. Let's see. The other one is a male. Yeah, male. I really like the color on... I mean, both of them are really cool. But yeah, they have a little burrow down here. And I've checked, I can jump up here, but they can't. Same for like over here. They don't seem to be able to do this like I can. They do tend to like this corner a bit though, but they have been kind of wandering a bit, so it's good. But yeah, I was hoping that I could get a whole bunch more done and like connect some of the paths up and stuff. But just with how long it's taken me to get these episodes out recently, I just think that I would like to get this out. The habitat's done. I really like how it looks. Yeah, I think like this angle is pretty cool. But yeah, hopefully soon I think I'll be able to get more episodes out. My semester for school is ending, I think the beginning of next month, and I'll have, I think, close to a month off of school, which is nice, before the semester after. And work hasn't been so bad. It's starting to cool down a little bit, so it's a little bit less tiring. That's the worst part about my job, is just the tiring part. Although it's kind of mentally exhausting as well. But anyway, I really hope that you guys like this habitat, and find the Komodo dragons as interesting as I do. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye everyone.